Hello, I am Pilar Bewley from Mainly Montessori, and today I want to chat with you about starting a teen book club. So, why is it important for adolescents to have the opportunity to discuss books in a group? Well, it gives them a lot of benefits. First of all, critical thinking. Having discussions about books, not just reading them at home by themselves, allows them to analyze what they're reading. It also offers them opportunities to strengthen their communication skills. They have to listen respectfully and get their point across clearly. A teen book club gives them opportunities to engage with others that are their age, maybe a little older, a little younger. And so they get that sense of ownership of a group and that social and emotional growth that comes from reading books that have really well-developed characters and then building empathy with the characters and building self-awareness as to how the characters' lives maybe mirror their own lives and how other people see these characters. All of those qualities are so essential. And finally, one of the most important aspects of running a teen book club is the opportunity for adolescents to practice metacognition. And this is basically the ability to reflect on your own thinking, on your own understanding. Now, while the adolescents are getting so much out of this book club, facilitators, the adults, are getting a lot out of it too. What it brings to you is the opportunity to understand adolescence at a deeper level. It helps you to understand how your adolescent is thinking. It encourages you to have deeper conversations with your adolescent and with the whole group. And it really energizes your homeschool practice or your classroom practice. It shifts things into a whole new level when you can see your students from this new perspective. So now let's talk about the nitty gritty. How do we get a group started? My group has about 7 to 9 members. I find that size ideal for discussions. Obviously, if you have a classroom, you might have a larger group, but consider maybe breaking down a larger group into 2 smaller groups. That way, the teens really get to know each other and they can feel more confident sharing their perspectives with each other. The ages that I work with are from ages about 12 to 15 because you really want the children to be in that third plane of development in those early adolescent years. If you bring in younger children, they are still very much elementary children. And so their maturity is not at the same level as an adolescent. And so they won't be able to bring to the discussion the same kind of depth that an adolescent will. Trust me on this, I've experienced this firsthand. Now, we meet every 2 weeks, and I'll share with you in a little bit why that is important to us and what that allows us to do. Our meetings are about an hour in length, and we meet at one person's house, usually meet at our house, but you could also rotate if you wanted to, or you could meet at a neutral location like a library or a park if your weather permits. We have a variety of book types that we rotate through. In general, we focus on 3 different types of books. I offer the option of reading a young reader edition of adult nonfiction books. We can also explore adolescent classics, and we offer also the opportunity to dive into more modern, award-winning literature. Now, if you're a Hub member, you can look below and you'll find a list of suggested titles. The fact that we have variety allows the readers to look at topics from different perspectives, from a nonfiction perspective, from a historical perspective, and from a more modern social perspective. So you might want to think about switching up the types of books that you offer. All right, so how do you start a book club? During our very first meeting, our inaugural meeting, the members and I read a short story together. If you're a Hub member, I've linked the short story below, but you can also offer any short story that you enjoy reading. And then once we read that story, we practiced writing and answering both factual and interpretive questions. And in just a second, I'll tell you more about those. Once we were done with this practice, then I offered a pre-selected list of books, and all of the book club members voted on the first book. In order for them to become familiar with these different books, I had the list of books and I had a short description that, I just pulled from Amazon. So it's just a short description of each book so that the readers can make an educated choice. And once they all voted, then we had our first book. Now, how do we format the meetings? For the first meeting after our inaugural meeting, the members of the book club had to have read the first half of the book. So I predetermined up to which chapter, and I let the parents know up to what chapter they were supposed to read. Now, when they came for this first actual book club discussion meeting, they had to bring 3 written questions. So 1 factual question and 2 interpretive questions. Now, factual question, as the name implies, are facts about the book that you can find within the text. So these are questions like who, what, when. These are questions that the reader is going to bring written down with the specific page number where the other members can find the answer. So it could be, for example, who stole the car that they used for the robbery? And that person that's asking the question will say the answer is on page 91. So all of the members will turn to page 91 and somebody will find the answer and say Joe Smith stole the car that they used for the robbery. So those are very simple questions, but their purpose is to warm up the group, to get everybody into that question answer format so that we can then move on to the interpretive questions. So then the 2 interpretive questions that they had to bring also written down are questions that, as the name implies, allow for interpretation. So these are why questions, how questions, what do you think, why do you think? So it could be something like, why do you think the author chose to set the story in the 1800s as opposed to in the present time? And then it gets everybody having a conversation. So there is no one right answer to these interpretive questions, but this is where the thinking and the connections and the empathy all come out to play. Now, it is really important that the book club members bring their questions written down, not just in their heads. Once we've gone around asking and answering the factual questions, then we take turns asking and answering the interpretive questions. In the meantime, the adult is guiding them very gently, subtly, but the adult is asking follow-up questions to model what it looks like to ask follow-up questions, is also redirecting off-topic conversations because these are adolescents and they love to go off on tangents. And so we want to redirect back towards the particular book that we're reading. And then the adult is also in charge, especially at first while the adolescents are getting used to the format. The adult is in charge of really concluding each round of questions, noticing when that question has been explored to a certain extent and when it's ready to go on to the next question. After you've been running your teen book club for a while, you might start to delegate this adult or this facilitator role to a mature member of the book club. And so remember that as you are facilitating the group, you're also modeling what it feels like and what it looks like to manage the group so that others can start doing it too. What do we do towards the end of our meeting? We come up with predictions about the second half. So the adult is usually the one that prompts all of the members and says, okay, what do you think is going to happen with this character? What do you think is going to happen in this situation? And so what that does is, number 1, it gets the readers excited about finishing the book. And number 2, it really highlights the story arc. Now, during the meeting for the second half of the book, the concluding meeting, the members come back and we compare their predictions to what actually happened. So during the meeting when we were doing predictions, you will want to either write down their predictions on a whiteboard and take a picture of it, or you will want to have somebody scribing those predictions, and then they can bring those back and you can compare and contrast to see what actually happened and how close the members were in their predictions. During the meeting to discuss the second half of the book, the members are going to bring 3 new written questions. Again, 1 is factual and 2 are interpretive. You start with the factual questions, and then once everybody's warmed up, you move to the interpretive questions. Will you have time to go through everyone's interpretive questions? Probably not. And that's actually a good thing. That means that you are diving into these deep conversations in the book. So make sure that they are bringing 1 factual and 2 interpretive, but don't feel like you have to rush them through every single question. You as the facilitator should be noticing who is contributing more, and you should be holding space for those who are feeling a little shy or who need a little bit of encouragement to join in. Everybody should have ideally the opportunity to ask at least 1 interpretive question. And we want to have a good balance of dialogue so that the children who are very outspoken can learn how to listen, and those who are quieter can learn how to speak out loud. Now, we conclude the discussion by asking the book club members what kind of takeaways they got from the book, and then we vote on the next book. And so, again, we have a selection. You might want to switch it up. If you were doing a nonfiction, then you might want to switch it up and do a fiction book, and you give 5 or 6 different options. All the members vote right there, and then they have their new book. And then again, you notify the families right away via email so that the members have 2 weeks to get the book and read the first half of the book. Your job, once the group members have chosen the book, is to identify as soon as possible what is the halfway point in the book, so that when you email the families and let them know about the book, you can also tell them up until what chapter they're required to read. And then rinse and repeat. You just keep doing this. And so the members will ideally be reading 1 book a month and will be discussing it over a period of 2 meetings. Now, big question that a lot of people have, do they have to do a book report or something like that? Well, this is not school. The purpose of a book club is to get the members to love reading and to see reading through different eyes, to become much more interested and critical of literature. And for the most part, traditional book reports, like the ones that we do in school, take away from that. But we do want to give the members opportunities to reflect on what they've read and to share with others their own perspective on what they've read. So what I offer our members is the opportunity to do optional book projects. So sometimes we do them, sometimes we don't. Ideally, they will want to do them at home and then bring to share. These are, in a nutshell, creative ways to express their understanding of the book and to share it with others. Some ideas could be a movie poster. So if you were to turn this book into a movie, what would a poster look like? Another idea is an alternate ending. So for somebody who loves to write, they could write an alternate ending. Children who are very hands-on, who love crafts, could create a diorama of their favorite scene or a craft that somehow reflects the book. Or you could also invite them to pick one character and have them explore some of the themes in the book from that character's perspective. Other fun things that our members have done include choosing music that aligns with the themes of the book and then bringing those pieces of music and explaining why they chose that. Now, let's talk about communicating with parents, because parents are a really important part of the book club. You will want to emphasize the importance of showing up to each meeting. Homeschool families can get really busy, and sometimes we are not the most organized. And so it is really important to encourage parents to show up for every single book club so that there's continuity and so that the book club knows that they can rely on each other and that they are responsible for bringing those questions and for having read the book. You will want to send an email after each meeting with a brief recap of what was covered. You don't have to go into a lot of detail, but let parents know what themes, what topics were covered during the meeting. You will also want to share right away the next book title, because parents are busy and sometimes it takes a while for us to be able to get that next book. Ideally, you can share a link where they can purchase it, and you can also encourage them to check it out at the library. You will want to remind the families of the 3 written questions that the book club member has to bring. And at the beginning, when you're first introducing the book club, it is a good idea to share with the parents what these questions are all about, what the purpose is, so that the parents can support the adolescent at home as they're coming up with their questions, especially the first couple of times that they are writing questions. So if you're in the hub, there's a document right below where you can find more ideas, suggestions, and guidance about all of these different questions. And you will also want to send a reminder about a week before each meeting and a reminder the weekend before the meeting, so that parents will show up and so that the book club members will bring their questions. Now, what about adaptations for diverse learners? Not every adolescent will be able to read a physical book at their age level, at their maturity level, but they can use audiobooks. So if you have a book member that has dyslexia or for whatever other reason is not able to keep up with the reading speed of the group, absolutely encourage them to read the audiobook. And make sure that they are able to bring those questions, even if they don't have a page number for the factual questions, but at least they're able to bring those questions. Now, you might be asking, well, what if the student is not comfortable writing? Well, we can invite the parents to scribe for the book club member. Whatever it takes for them to be able to participate is what we need to do to make it happen. All adolescents deserve to have this opportunity to share their viewpoints, to start making connections, and to learn how to look at literature with more critical eyes. And then finally, I want to really encourage you to keep front and center the developmental aspects of the book club. A book club is not really about writing a report or about assessing reading comprehension in the traditional sense. What we want the book club members to do is to develop their ability to think critically, their ability to speak confidently, to make connections between what is happening in the book and what has happened in other books they've read, movies they've watched, and their own real world experiences. And also to develop empathy and compassion, not just for the characters in the story, but for the members of their group club. We want the book club to be structured. There are guidelines for behavior. There are guidelines for respecting each other. We want it to be consistent. So you do have to show up. You do have to create a schedule ahead of time of when the meetings are going to be, and you do have to honor that, because if you provide the structure, then the families will also follow suit. And we want this to be discussion driven. There are no right or wrong answers in interpretive questions. And so we want the children, the adolescents, to be driving this discussion, because that's how they're going to take ownership of the book club, and that's how they're going to get so much out of it. If you're a hub member, I invite you to ask me any question that you have about bringing this book club to life. I'm happy to support you in our adolescent forum, where you will also find this video. And please keep in touch. And if you're not in the hub yet, but you'd like to join, and you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you check out the link below in the description, and you can find out all of the benefits of joining the hub. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.